Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. This is your podcast for all things food and pop culture. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content, and make sure to like, follow, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice so you know when new episodes are dropping. Just a couple of programming reminders. This is a series of podcast interviews that I did in one day, a 10-hour day called Podapalooza. And I kind of describe it as a speed dating event for podcast hosts and guests, where we all kind of read each other's bios and decide if it's a match. And we get together and have a podcast interview. Everything's been off the cuff and we only get a few minutes to research each other and just talk about whatever's going on with their business and the story that they want to tell. So with that said, my next guest here is Mayim Vega. Mayim Vega is a NASA scientist turned holistic healer. Or expert in holistic healing. And I feel like both of those descriptions are an understatement because I was reading a little bit of your bio, and Mayim, you were doing some really innovative stuff at NASA, and now you're doing some really innovative stuff in the realm of holistic healing. So welcome to the pod, Mayim. I appreciate your time and being on.
Hello, Rich. Kumusta po?
Hello. We're both Filipino, and I failed to mention before the pod, I am a bad Filipino. I don't speak any Tagalog, which is horrible.
Same here. That was the extent of my Tagalog.
Yeah, I was born and raised in the States, and my mom, my mom spoke English. Born, yeah, I was born and raised in the States, and my mom spoke English. We just didn't talk Tagalog all the time. I'm the only one in my family.
I was born in the Philippines, but
were you?
Raised here.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, my Tagalog is lacking, unfortunately. So, but thank you so much for being on the pod. Mayim, I read your story and I thought it was very interesting. You started at NASA as a computer engineer and doing some really like Tony Stark, Iron Man level stuff in terms of like, I read nanotechnology, I was reading automation, and then your life took a turn and now you're you're a holistic healer, really advocating for using food and natural products to promote healing within the body. How did that road lead to NASA lead to holistic healing?
I think that the one thing that's underlying with both careers is number one, my engineering mind, which says problems are meant to be solved and I will find the answer. And also logic. So everything I do, whether from computer science at NASA to holistic health and healing, I had faith that I could solve the problem. And I have a very rational and logical approach, even when it comes to holistic health. And so how I transitioned is I got married and I had my first child, and I decided that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I made too much money at NASA. So my husband's like, I don't know if we can afford that if you just stay at home. So I'm like, okay, I'll be an entrepreneur. And my first business was creating apps and web apps and stuff like that for high-tech companies in the Silicon Valley over there in California, where we are from. And then I had my second child, and then I got really sick, was not able to function anymore in my business or as a mother. Mm-hmm. And then it got to the point where I couldn't sleep anymore. And so the doctor thought that I had a brain tumor. Wow. But then after lots of testing and things like that, she said, well, good news, you don't have a brain tumor. Bad news, we have no idea what's wrong with you. Here's some really strong painkillers, Valium. And it didn't work much better than the over-the-counter painkillers that I was taking. So that wasn't the only disappointment that I had with the modern medical system, but I ventured that it would be my last. And so that's when I studied nutrition and herbalism and holistic health. And I found out that my issue was, it was basically migraines, and that it was caused by a B12 deficiency. That was the first thing I found out, that if I took B12, that it would go away. It would work way better than any of the drugs. And so then my engineering mind said, why am I B12 deficient? Mm-hmm. And then with more research, I realized it was partly because of my vegetarian slash vegan diet,
Mm.
which I thought was healthy. And it initially gave me a lot of energy when I first went vegetarian. And then I was trying to go vegan. When I was trying to go vegan, that's when it really started affecting me. I didn't see the connection though, because I thought it was healthy, you know? So I started incorporating more animal products into my diet, eggs and dairy and fish. And then I got better. But then I asked, with my engineering mind, why are there other vegetarians and vegans out there and they're not having these debilitating migraines? And then I found out that the answer to that was because they were not under the same kind of stress that I was in. So my vegetarian vegan diet, coupled with the stress of entrepreneurship and being a mother of two very small children, having all those responsibilities together, just that I found the root causes. And so I had to learn to take it easy, trust in God more, have faith in the process of entrepreneurship, which is more like farming than a regular job. It's not like this guaranteed every 2 week paycheck.
Hmm.
There's a period of sowing and waiting and then reaping. And so I had to, just handle that process better and not like stay up late at night in order to, make everyone happy and things like that. Take care of myself better.
Yeah. So the word you keep using is engineering, and it's interesting that you kind of viewed the human body, specifically your body, like you do any machine, that it is a machine, right?
Yeah.
And it operates at a certain optimal level, and it takes certain things for a
Needs
machine
certain
to
inputs.
needs inputs for your body to operate, right? Just like a computer needs certain things for it to operate, your body needs certain things for it to operate, and everybody's different. So you found out that your body needed some B12 and that the vegan diet that you thought was healthy wasn't so healthy for you. Whereas in other people, it has no effect on them. And I thought it was really interesting that you kind of took that approach. I mean, not I'm not that smart, so I would not have figured that out. And I think a lot of people have that dependency on quote unquote Western medicine because maybe they don't research into their body a little bit more. So what advice would you give to somebody that isn't a NASA trained engineer to look at their body as you do as a machine to try to figure out how to fix it without the dependency of taking a whole lot of drugs and frequent hospital visits?
Well, I think that knowledge is power. Knowledge is key, and the things that I teach in my school. So I have a certification program through my school, aruka.com, the Holistic Life Academy, and I teach people these principles of holistic health and healing. I have a certification program for naturopathic herbalism. And, we teach the fundamentals of holistic health, detoxification, nutrition, orthomolecular nutrition, herbalism, and life stages and leading killers. And here's the thing. I think it's ridiculous that we spend at least 12 years of our life in public school and we are not teaching our children, we're not teaching our citizens of our country how to take care of their body. I mean, isn't that more important?
Mm.
And people complain, oh, we don't even teach them how to balance a checkbook or how
Right.
compound interest or loans and credit like that. Yeah, that's important, and I agree that there's a failure in that too. But we learn about the science of astronomy and uh, uh, general biology and chemistry, physics, all these things, but we don't learn them in a way that applies to our lives and keeps us healthy. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's just so like crazy. That should be the primary goal of our education, is to take care of ourselves and our future, and our children, etc. So I really feel like, the key is knowledge. And the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And I believe that has to do not only with biblical knowledge, but knowledge in all things, knowledge in health, knowledge in relationships, how to have a good relationship, how to communicate well, things like that, just very basic things. I think that these should be taught in public school, really. And because they're not, that's the whole reason why I have my certification program.
Yeah, and you talk about high school. We all took biology in high school, right? But it was very generic, and the food pyramid is what everybody needs to abide by, but that doesn't really apply to every single type of person, right? And the food pyramid itself was controversial in the past and funded by some agricultural groups that wanted to push, certain types of foods. Hey, put this in there, and so you can't necessarily really trust it in that sense, and it changes all the time. But to have that type of teaching in a public school, to where learn your body, listen to your body, here's some other things that you can do and stuff like that. And you mentioned faith. How much and I read in your bio that you have a strong Christian faith, and how much of that faith steers your research into holistic medicine and steers what you accomplish and learn and teach in your program?
Yeah. Actually, I was Christian. I grew up Christian, but I became an Orthodox Jew later in life after several children. And but I think the basis was still the same. It's still the Bible, and I think that Einstein said this once, that, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember his exact quote, but basically that the reason why he does one of the foundations for Einstein's research was the fact that he had faith in a God of order, that there is this underlying order to all of creation. And I believe that too. I believe there's order. And because there's order, there's steps that can be taken to get us from point A to point B and back to point A, if point B means disease and pain and sorrow and things like that, because of the orderly nature of the whole entire world. And so I think that faith also plays a part in my determination. I believe in a God that is good and that wants the best for us. And because of that, also, I believe that, if we pray, prayer is good, and prayer helps to channel the divine and gets our mindset right. But then the next step is action. And action, a prayer without action, I think, is incomplete. Is like it's like a wheel that's half made. And so just faith that prayer plus action will lead me to success really propels me to find the answers to whatever it is, whatever problem in my life. I was nearly divorced my husband, a few times. And there's a lot of challenges in my life, and that wasn't my health experience, my health crisis. That wasn't the only. There's another one too, where I had extreme hypothyroidism,
Mm.
and again, I had to figure out the answer. And I was already a naturopathic herbalist, so I had to tap into my resources and my knowledge to find the answer to that too. And there's a lot of controversy in the world regarding what to do about certain things, right? Like the
Hmm.
cancer issue. Like, some people say, oh, do this. And other people say, no, no, that's dangerous. You have to only do this. It's like that with a lot of things. And it was like that with my hypothyroidism. So I had the faith that God would lead me to the right answers, and he would help me to discern what was right for my body and what wasn't. And a lot of the answers were found through experimenting. Like this person says this is dangerous, but this person says it's not.
Yeah.
Well, what should I do? Well, let's try it out. Let's experiment with it. And I eventually find the answer, especially when you're dealing with natural healing methods. They are
Hmm.
so safe and natural that it's okay to experiment with it. Whereas
Right.
when you're experimenting with medical drugs, the side effects can be detrimental. So if
Hmm.
one of my friends came over and they dropped their blood pressure pill, for example, I would be afraid. I would be deathly afraid if one of my little babies, and
Sure.
I have seven now. I have seven children, not babies. But if one of my children picked up that, blood pressure medication and swallowed it,
Hmm.
we would have to take him to the emergency room, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
if I dropped an herb or a vitamin or a supplement, the worst that we would have to do is give that child maybe some charcoal,
Yeah.
to absorb the toxin, if it is toxic, but the levels of toxicity are so low. But because these herbs and supplements and food, they're actually dealing with the root cause instead of the medicines, which are just masking symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that they are more effective than the drugs because they're actually either correcting a deficiency or stimulating your body to balance itself to correct the deficiency. So, some people think, oh, well, drugs are more powerful. Well, they're more powerful in masking symptoms. They are not more powerful actually in actually healing you and dealing with the root cause.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like your take on faith because, and again, talking about your body as a machine, if your body is a machine, then it was created with purpose, and that indicates intelligent design, right? And with that, you can discover what is going on in your body and try to figure that out through, like you were saying, through A/B testing of natural methods, essentially, and being okay if A doesn't work because it's natural. It's not going to necessarily kill you right away, right? So, you're one thing that I noticed, and I think it's unique to America, is that I think the United States is the only country that allows advertisements for medications like on TV. I think that's correct. So, do you feel that that's a detriment to the American public to be advertising drugs as much as they are? I think even, man, on TV, and these aren't short commercials, these are like 90-second commercials of drugs. And each drug that I see seems to alleviate a symptom of something, but never the something. What's your take on that?
And it comes with like a whole host of side effects that are extremely undesirable, including things that are worse than the original symptom. And they even say those side effects in the commercial itself at the very end, really, really quick. And I think that, the real reason, like no one that I know ever sees any of these drug commercials and is like, oh, wow, I want to try that drug. Like none of my friends, right?
Yeah.
Everyone they just make fun of it. The real reason that these pharmaceutical companies advertise on mainstream media is to buy to buy them out. So basically, what they do is they give these television companies or these media companies tons of money in order to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, they say, don't allow other things, don't allow other forms of healing methods that would go against what we are prescribing, that would go against the drugs, or don't let anyone say anything against the drugs. And if you do, then we will stop giving you money for advertisements. So I think that's the real reason why they do it. It's not because a ton of people all of a sudden are begging their doctors for this new drug that they saw on TV. It's so that they can tell the television companies, you know what? You want our advertising money? You better not let people who are anti-pharma or pushing holistic true remedies say anything. Don't let anyone say they can cure this or blah, 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 that. And I think that's the real reason why it's there. And it's appalling. It's ridiculous. And hopefully that's going to change soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So a lot of information in the very short amount of time we have to do an interview on, during Potapalooza on this day. I do want to take a few minutes though, just to let you promote your business, what you do, where people can find you online, on the internet, on social media, and to learn more about holistic healing and pathic medications and those types of
Naturopathic
things.
herbalism.
That's a mouthful. I can't even
I
get that out.
know.
I'm
Sorry.
going to stick with holistic because that I can
Okay.
pronounce.
Holistic health.
Holistic
Yeah.
health, overall holistic health, and things to do to stay away from having to pop pills all the time for ailments. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So my website is arukah.com, arukah.com. And basically, we offer a holistic healer certification program. And we teach naturopathic herbalism. That's the bulk of our program. I already said, everything that's in it. And also holistic life coaching and online business and marketing. And the life coaching aspect is there because that really helps people with the mindset and spirituality aspect. The body, mind, spirit is the holistic way, right? So the life coaching helps with mind and spirit. And then the online business marketing is there, exactly because of, what I was referring to before is when you're a holistic healer, you're not going to be hired by a hospital to work, right? You have to become entrepreneurial. You have to pave your own way. And that's why that is part of the program. And my students include people with medical backgrounds, such as doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and medical technicians, nutritionists, etc. But the majority of my students are have no medical background. They are just holistic minded. They've had their own disappointments with the modern medical system, and they believe, like me, that this is the true way to achieve holistic health and healing. So it's really open to anyone.
Nice, nice. So check her out online at aruka.com, ARUKAH.com, to learn more about holistic healing methods and holistic life coaching. Very interesting stuff. Thank you so much for being on the pod. It was fun talking to you, and I appreciate all the information. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you too, Rich. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Eat Your Content. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the podcast through my merch store on TeePublic. Get great quality items like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more, all sporting the vibrant Eat Your Content logo. Go to teepublic.com/user/eatyourcontent for more great items, and thanks for your support.